Okay, so now it's my slide. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here in Lancaster to tell you about the book, the chapter that we did for the book that Anna and her colleague did with us, with our contributions. I'm coming as an architect, interested in school spaces, but also interested in the urban spaces. So I don't see schools disconnected with the city. So I try to always relate both. And I'm an academic at the University of Coimbra, where we try to develop educational spaces with our students, but always thinking about this relation between the school and the city. So how can we change the school with the city, but also change the city with the renovations of the schools that we are bringing? So I'm also inspired by architects that brought some of the interesting ideas that we have today. We had lucky to have Sanoff with us. I also like very much Hermann Etzberger and his position towards the architectural education and also to designing architectural schools, and especially this idea that if we need a more democratic approach, we need people, not specialists, to be listened and contribute to the educational space. So space in learning has been an inspiration, and also Erzberger works. But also Colin Ward, a British architect that as an activist tried to discuss the role of the city and its educational role. And he was very clear to say that we need to listen to listen to young people, not only the adults, but also the young people that have interesting things to say, as we already listened today from other scholars. So our research tried to understand how can we engage the students' view on the school and city transformation. So we tried to address several questions, starting from what knowledge can we be gained from including children, methodologically, what kind of perspectives into the representation of schools and urban space, how can we collect, analyze, and represent children's information. That's also a concern for us architects. So how we collect all this information and we bring it to a design process, and how can these contributions generate ideas. So we have been working in a research project for the last 6 years. It just finished. It's an Horizon 2020 project that worked with 8 cities in Europe from different countries. And we all addressed this challenge of transforming the public space into an inclusive urban space. And we thought at that moment that schools should have a role in this transformation, although the focus was the public space in general. And we tried to understand these realities in the different cities by walking in the public space. And of course, we know that everyone walks in the public space, less than they should probably, but in these social housing neighborhoods that we were focused, people walk a lot and walk with their families and walk in very difficult conditions. And this is an image that represents a little bit of what is the periphery of our cities today. People walking in the middle of highways, trying to access school, trying to access their house, their works. So we start to challenge the schools to be our stakeholders, our privileged stakeholders. Usually these social housing neighborhoods are designed in a way that primary schools are at the center of these social housing neighborhoods. So they play a role already in the community by involving the children, the families. Everyone is a little bit part of these schools. So we challenge the schools. We have, for instance, this is the case of Porto. We have 6 primary schools in the area that we are intervening, and we challenge the children to show us their public space, how they go home, how they go to after-school activities, to their grandparents, and we start to walk with them. So walkthrough became a most important tool of our design process, of our co-creation process, as we call this participatory activity that we developed towards the design, the implementation, and the monitoring of the public space. So it's a project, although it's a research project, we built these new inclusive public spaces. And we walk a lot. We walk in the areas where people walk, in these peripheries, where most of the times they don't have sidewalks, they don't even have streets, because they do shortcuts to try to arrive home more easily. So the diagnostic was very important, what we call the co-diagnostic, the first moment of understanding this reality where people walk. And after walk, we sit in their classroom and we try to discuss what they did. Sometimes we use models, as we see here. We also understood that we need to revise our architectural tools, so we use models. They are developed in a way that people can contribute and they can understand, and they use drawing. For instance, this is a very nice drawing that by Rafaela that shows the past that we did, and it's very nice that she paints the first side, the first part in brown, and then the second in green, and then she puts flowers and bees. So they really have this capacity of translating in a very clear way what is their reality, what is their very everyday reality. So co-diagnostic, so my point is that walkthrough, walking, and discussing while we're walking is an important design tool. So we saw diagnostic, but also as a design tool. So how can we design by walking? So we challenge again children, what should we do to start to creating proposals? And they said, our territory has a lot of trash. We find trash everywhere. So let's walk, let's collect trash, and let's create an artistic sculpture with the trash that we collect. So this capacity of starting with an action that leads them to a creative process and to leave something for their neighborhood. So this represents this journey along the path that ends in the area that we are intervening, this area between housing neighborhoods, where they start to work and think about what could be this culture, and it ends as a collective moment. Then we had to start to think about these more material dimensions. So we have the materiality of the art interventions, but we have also the capacity, because the project has funds for that, to transform effectively the public space. And we went to school again, we walk around the neighborhood, and then we went to make some drawings, and they start to identify the need to create some public spaces in front of the school. They wanted to have school squares in front of their schools. The school door was in front of the street, so they could not have a moment to share between them, activities, to play, to talk with the parents, wait for the parents. So for them to have a school square was very important. And in fact, we were able to discuss with the municipality to bring this plot that is in front of this school, and it was a plot for building. And we said the pupils of this school, the children of these schools, they brought this idea, creating a square for the school. And in fact, the municipality was able to change the value of this plot from building to a public space. And now we have this public space where we combine nature with places for leisure, with benches to stay, to play, where they start to create a community relation among all the parents and all the children. So this is very interesting, the power that the children have with their voices when we give them the voices to do that. But we also thought that it would be interesting to leave something for their courtyard. So we start a new activity with them in the courtyards, trying to go around the courtyards, walking around the courtyards and discuss, and they should draw in their notebooks what they would like to change. And we brought our colleagues from the Institute of Architecture of Catalonia, IAC, where they work with 3D printing, and we start playing games with them, with the children, trying to, with the drawings and with the cubes, trying to identify what could be this transformation that was agreed that should be an educational garden, an educational small farm at the school, a pedagogical farm. So we tried to understand what kind of flowers we need, what kind of plants, what kind of animals, and we start to work that also with the architecture students from Barcelona. And in the end, we got these very beautiful structures that are installed in each school, and in each school of the 6, they are different because children are different and the process are different, so they led to different outputs. But this idea that they need structures also to motivate their pleasures for doing pedagogical gardens. So in the end, we also thought we need to monitor, we need to understand if this was an instinct and if it creates value for the school, for the children, and what did they get with this. So when the park, in the end, we had these inclusive public spaces that are in most cases, in most cities, something like a park, or we call them healthy corridors, so connections between different places of the city. And we did an activity of planting and also creating, identifying all the trees that were planting. So creating also not only evaluation, but also a sense of belonging to their public space involving the school. And we try to monitor also with walks that end in this sophisticated digital tool where they register what they like, what they don't like, what they would like to change now that they have the public space. But there is still an opportunity to make changes when the public space is built. So this is the process that we did, but we need also during this process to register all these steps. And this was quite a challenge, how to register these walks that we did we tried to use Google Maps where we could identify all the walking lines, but also with the GIS identifying in each place what we were discussing, what they like, what they don't like, what they would like to change. So we could map all the contributions of the children, and this is very important. We need to register and to give feedback to them. We also try to do these representations that would highlight the several contributions, the several thematics that came, things related with safety, with services, with public institutions, community spaces. So what was discussed and was grouped in these graphics. And also more architectural mapping that could try to understand all the proposals that came from the citizens, not only children, but adults, the other groups that were involved. We tried to involve everyone that wanted to be involved in these large communities. So we mapped the urban spaces with, here in gray, it's the social housing neighborhoods. We map also the green areas, and we discussed with them where these corridors should take place, trying to connect what was already there in the city and identifying all the proposals that came from the citizens so that they are registered and they are identified, the ones that should be implemented in the urban plan and the others that will be forward to other projects at the municipality or that we explain that are not possible to implement because participation is also explaining that sometimes we cannot do what is proposed by the community. So what are the outcomes of this? Firstly, children are available to contribute, and this is very, very important. They want to contribute, they have time, they have an experience of the public space, of the school, that is very important for our design. That the children have capacity to identify needs, challenges, and solutions. This is also, we hear a lot of politicians say, be careful, don't involve children, they will ask for things that are not reasonable. It's the opposite. They are always more reasonable than all the politicians that I met. So trust on the children. And the children open the participatory process also to their families, to their community. So this is also one of the reasons that by involving children, we involve the community. So, lessons learned. Engaging citizens in regeneration or rehabilitation process is important, but needs time. We already heard about this. Tools that are friendly for participants and do not take too long. So this is very important. Pamela already talked about this. Co-creation processes are also time-consuming, but walkthrough, so I'm here fighting for walkthrough, is easy to organize and requires neither financial nor organizational effort. It's something that we do very easily. Walkthrough demonstrates its adaptability by being used in the several stages of the co-creation process: diagnostic, design, implementation, and monitoring. So walkthrough is an open-air activity that creates an environment of informality. This is also very interesting because sometimes participation is a tense moment. So if we are in the public space, walking, discussing, it's always very pleasant. And also we need to create visualization of results to take the territorial and social dimensions into consideration. So thank you very much.